What exactly is a score bug? Well, this is one.
Come on, you cunt. Fucking cunt.
And so is this. In fact, if you've seen at least one televised sports game in your life, you've probably seen one. Score bugs are simple but effective graphics designed for one particular purpose: to tell you the score. Which is interesting considering that when they were initially conceived, they caused broken bones, pissed off bosses, and even created death threats. So here's a useless video about them. Prior to the invention of a permanent score bug, this was how the score was shown. A brief pop-up graphic that would disappear into the television ether after a couple of seconds on display. It was the normalized standard, but for one person in particular, it was a massive inconvenience. That person being a man by the name of David Hill. As the story goes, Hill, one day after walking his dog near the local prison, went home, sat down, and watched a game of football. This type of football. And for 20 straight minutes of his life, he didn't know the score. And he got angry. Very angry. As a result, Hill conjured up an idea for a permanent fixture that would tell the viewer vital information during the duration of play. What you are seeing right now is that solution. Used during the inaugural season of the Premier League and airing on Sky Sports, a company that Hill not only worked for, but helped create, this initial score bug would set the ethos for future score bugs to either adopt or break entirely. Small enough to not be a distraction, but featuring very important information in case a viewer needed it. In the eyes of Hill, it was a resounding success. In the eyes of his bosses, it was visual garbage. Hill himself said that his boss called to tell him that his idea was the stupidest thing he ever saw, and to take it down immediately. He would call him again the following week, begging Hill to follow his orders, but Hill instead did the only thing that every man with a revolutionary idea does, and ignored him. His bosses just didn't get it. Whether or not they eventually did is a different story entirely, but the fact remains. The score bug worked. It was useful, and it stayed, evolving over time into a plethora of different forms. It worked so well, however, that it eventually couldn't stay local. Partially because it literally couldn't stay local since Hill would end up becoming president of Fox Sports in 1993, and it also couldn't stay local because his scorebug idea was about to become a fixture across the pond, which also meant that it was time to piss off some Yanks.
Okay, let's go poke the Yanks.
Started shooting at the effects of it, it blew me away.
It's August 1994, and David Hill is about to implement a brand new idea that would change the way football, this type of football, would be broadcasted on American television screens. Of course, this brand new idea is actually 2 years old, but this isn't a score bug. It's actually called a Fox box. This futuristic looking bug was one of the many innovative ideas conjured up by Hill, but at the time, the Fox box garnered a reception typical of a viewer who didn't like change, as his idea subsequently gave him 5 death threats sent his way, one of which apparently said, "You're a foreigner and you're fooling with football. We'll have to kill you." Told you he pissed off some Yanks. And Hill subsequently thought that this was such a grandiose threat of his life that he would actually contact the LAPD and even the FBI. Needless to say, this was a massive success. This is the first score bug that was ever used in a broadcast featuring one of the big 4 North American sports. It's a monumental thing indeed, but chronologically speaking, in terms of American sports broadcasts, the Fox box wasn't the first of its kind. That distinction belongs to ESPN and their version of the score bug used during the 1994 World Cup. It's a simple looking design, but it was initially a bastard to control, because apparently some faults in the system resulted in the score bug glitching out for long periods of time, resulting in unhappy sponsors and even a broken hand. Eventually, however, after a quick rewrite in some code, the scorebug was on full, permanent, glitchless display. An innovation that might not have been the first of its kind based on some technicalities, but who cares about some technicalities? Nevertheless, the scorebug has evolved over time. Its various appearance changes have made the scorebug as eclectic as the sports broadcasts for which it is used for. However, there are two main types of scorebugs, the corner scorebug and the bar scorebug. But even then, there are also a wide variety of subtypes too. The corner bar scorebug, the thin long bar, the short wide bar, the wide long bar, the corner placed box, the phone friendly variety, the best looking one, the plagiarist, the visual atrocity, the unnecessary replacement, the one that gave up on life, and the Bally Sports scorebug.
I don't think you know how big 12 inches is. Do you see that? Just in scale, where is that going?
In any event, the existence of the scorebug has mostly been as unintrusive as its original design. It initially gained the attention of viewers who hated how to be told to do things, and now it really only gains critical attention if it's a visual abomination. Still, despite different looks and identities, one single constant remains. They tell viewers the score. Initially deemed as a dumb idea and viewed as a necessary evil, now they're just necessary.